What's up, guys? Zach and Steve here. We are going to just talk briefly about the games that are coming up in this weekend. We have a massive one, Liverpool versus Arsenal, which the excuses are already coming out. I've got Arsenal fans saying, you know what, forget it. I don't even want to watch the league this year because they're starting to get some of the treatment. We'll get into it later. And then we have Chelsea playing one of their rivals in Newcastle, which is a team that has been a lot like them, very physical team. So well, we might have to re-record this whole thing because I just got a really ugly look from Zach. Let me know what I said wrong, Zach. Take it away with the Chelsea preview first.
It's no ugly look. I'm just talking. I'm just making a face at Newcastle. I mean,
I
I don't
thought
know
you were
what that
saying I
face
got
was. To be
something
honest,
wrong about Newcastle.
I've never seen that face in my life. I don't know what that face was. Honestly, actually, well, Newcastle is one of my favorite teams outside of Chelsea. I like Newcastle a lot. I love them. I watched the game, as I could in the background twice today, like getting ready for this, trying to think about my points. The game they had against Brighton. To start with, I have four key points. I'll just run through them and then I'll let you respond. So one is Newcastle likes to fly. They like to fly really quick up and down the pitch. Uh, it's really a very physical team as well. And I think it's going to be a case of who can manage the flying up and down better and who gets carried away with it, who gets lost in it, who loses shape in defense, who's able to convert chances on those rapid attacks. Also, just physically, we're both prone to going overboard. Newcastle and Chelsea both have discipline issues, both have overly excitable, overly physical teams at times. And I'm a little concerned about Chelsea losing their heads, getting cards, getting kicked out of the game. We had the first two players to be suspended for yellow cards. That's against Liverpool. That was Fofana and Cucurella. That's why they were out, because they had too many yellow cards. So I'm a little concerned that if we let ourselves get carried away, Newcastle is gonna get the best of us. Sort of, they'll take advantage of that opportunity more than we would. And then I have two more points, but I'll let you give your feedback on those. What you think about that from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very competitive match from a physical point of view. That's something that I would be watching out for. Normally, when a team like Chelsea has a game like they just did against Liverpool, I'm thinking they're about to kill whoever they're playing next because we are a lot harder to play against than maybe is obvious when you have to fight so hard to go toe to toe with us. And you guys not only did that, but you controlled the match and you controlled possession in a lot of areas of the pitch. So I think Maresca's a solid coach. He's going to be to build on that and say, hey, let's not get sucked into this physical battle. Let's keep doing. If we do exactly what we did against Liverpool, we actually kill most of the teams that we play against. So that would be what I'm expecting heading into this match between two teams I really don't like.
Yeah, it's funny. That was actually one of my thoughts as well, but I quickly kicked it out of my head because, as you don't want to get overly hopeful or excited or arrogant or anything. Newcastle is a really tough team, and it's going to present a different type of challenge. So I don't want to get carried away with that thought, but it's definitely floating around the back of my head. Like, look how we did against Liverpool. We should be able to manhandle Newcastle, But we'll see. And Newcastle's not having the best year. I mean, I don't. They had a great year 2 years ago. Last year they really, it was them and Chelsea who had the biggest injury issues. We both claimed to have the biggest. I think at different times in the year we both had the claim to it. And then they're sort of like getting back after that now slowly, but they just don't look the team they were 2 years ago yet. But they're always dangerous. They're definitely dangerous. As next points for me were, I'm very curious what's going to happen with the Reece James, Gusto, Cucurella options, because Reece James has been out for so long. It's been Gusto, I think it's Gusto on the right, Cucurella on the left. Cucurella massively underrated in my opinion. He's just because of how he's small, he's got the funny hair, he's sort of like a hyper Jack Russell Terrier or Chihuahua, and I think he's underrated. He's a pain in the butt when he's on you. He's just all over you. I would have loved to see him go up against Salah, but he's an animal, and he's got that position. And after the Euro, especially where he performed so well for Spain, he's got that position locked down. But Gusto has been tremendous while Reece James has been out. And is he just going to be benched? Reece James going to take his spot back? Is Reece James maybe going to get a little more rest and then come in later? I don't know, but I'm just curious to see how Maresca decides to manage that issue. Fofana and Colwill are solid center backs, so that's clear. But it's also Gusto's got a totally different role under Maresca than he had under Pochettino. And I'm just, with all these players available now, I'm curious to see what Maresca does with it. And then the last point is like, where's the magic going to come from? We need the magic up top. This is what we live on. We have a game where we have that magic and we get 6-2 on Wolves or blow out someone else. When the magic is not there, or the team is frustrating us too much, like Nottingham Forest, like Liverpool, it seems like we're a different team, and it's like, where are our guys who create these amazing plays every game? Because they're not quite consistent enough to do that every game, especially against the tougher defenses. But against Newcastle, who is they have a tough defense in their own way, but the way they play, I think we're going to have the potential for magic. And is that going to be Palmer? Is that going to be Jackson, Madueke, Sancho? Is it going to be Felix playing finally again, or Neto off the bench? I just expect it's going to come from someone. And also on Newcastle's side, like Isak, oh man, the guy is he's a genius with the ball on his foot. And Gordon, who's been frustrated lately, I'm sure is really eager, just got a new contract extension, and I'm sure is hungry to prove himself. So that's my big thing. I just want to see who's going to create the magic. I think that's going to be what makes the game at the end of the day, aside from those first points, which make me more nervous. But that's it for me. Any final thoughts on that? And we'll jump to Liverpool.
Yeah, that all makes a lot of sense to me. Just from a Liverpool perspective, we know how hard Chelsea was. And I would expect, unless he experiences a problem, and I hope he doesn't, in training, Reece James is going to be approaching more match fitness. He's an nail-on starter. That's why he was brought in for a huge game. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does something crazy this game. Also, it's funny how we have rosy memories. Newcastle did kind of come out of nowhere 2 years ago, and they were a difficult team, but they were a horrible team. They were a scum of the earth team. Yeah, they're going and beating up little teams because they went and they bought all these rich players. But if you can remember the way that they would play against top teams, it was pure park the bus physicality. Spurs were complaining. Everett is complaining. Super waste time negative tactics. Like, think Jose Mourinho versus Liverpool in that game that I was talking to you about offline. Like, that's the way they played, and they just played to get a result. And they've got some of the same background issues going on as other teams that seem to maybe get the rub of the ref. So I hate that team, and I hope that you beat them, even though I don't like Chelsea. I don't want Newcastle to win. My initial reaction is I thought this is going to be like a 2-2 because I think Chelsea is overall flying. They were flying coming into that Liverpool game. And Chelsea's going to look at this game like they want to build on what they did versus Liverpool. They're going to think Newcastle's a tough game, but this is a team we should beat. Liverpool at Anfield is not necessarily a team we should beat. Newcastle is a team we should try to take points. Now, it is Newcastle away, so I feel 2-2 draw or leaning towards a 2-1 win for Chelsea. And yeah, I think that they're going to get some magic because they didn't get the chance to do that much magic against us. So they're going to unleash on Newcastle. Remember it.
Yeah. I think they're really frustrated from the lack of being able to do that against Liverpool, and they're going to all be extra focused and make it happen on the magic end. I agree 2-2 sort of feels like what it could be, especially in my opinion, if Newcastle makes it really physical, really emotional, and sort of gets in Chelsea's head enough to disrupt them. If Chelsea's able to compose and sort of run the game a little bit more, I could see if it's getting into a high, I could see it being like a 3-2, 4-2 kind of match because that's sort of like the way we go. If we're not totally shut down defensively, we start flying. The other team start flying. And just watching the Newcastle Brighton game, it was just crazy. So I think if we push Newcastle in that direction, it could be a high scoring game. But yeah, 2-2 is probably actually what I would feel is more likely. We'll see. So let's go on to Liverpool. Oh, as we make the segue, I just saw stupid news this morning that Saudi's looking to buy a bigger team than Newcastle. Potentially Liverpool or Chelsea are on their minds. Those are the two teams. I was like, you better stay off my team, dude. I don't want none of that.
At least at least maybe the league would become less rigged. When only one or two teams are owned by Saudi Arabia, they're going to get all the calls. But if half the league's owned by Saudi Arabia, then they'll have to be fair to each other.
Oh my gosh. There were also texts that came out that MBS was the one calling the shots on buying Newcastle, which is illegal because he's the head of a sovereign state. But anyway, let's go on. Liverpool, Arsenal.
All right,
Big.
Liverpool time. This is so interesting because frickin' Arsenal for the last 2 years have thought it's over. The Klopp era is over. Liverpool is going to go back to where they were, and we will take our rightful place as still not winning a title, but definitely nail on for fourth place, but somehow better than Liverpool. That is their place since 2004. Speaking of Chelsea, after Abramovich bought Chelsea, Arsenal never won the title again because it upset the economic dynamics in the league. And Arsene Wenger, who's like a genius, and I think he has a double master's degree in math and economics, he wasn't going to break his system and how he bought players just because Abramovich comes in. So for me, Arsenal should really hate Chelsea, but they hate Liverpool fans and they hate watch us. So this is a huge game. From a Liverpool perspective, yes, let's put Arsenal in their place. Slot has the greatest start of any Liverpool manager ever, 10 out of 11. We still have a lot to come from this team, and we're happy to keep it going. We've got some niggling injuries coming around. We have some depth issues, but overall it's going well. We'll see what happens in this other crazy competition that Chelsea signed in. It's called the Champions League. That's actually going on today for Liverpool fans. So we'll see what happens in that game, how that impacts the weekend. We have to take it one game at a time. But my point is, Liverpool are coming into this saying, yeah, let's really go show Arsenal, because last year we really couldn't, and Arsenal dominated us, and that's rare. On the Arsenal side, it's completely different. They have nothing to gain and everything to lose in this game. They already feel it. It's already a foregone conclusion. They're frustrated. They've had red cards. They have a lot of injuries. Saliba's out. I think Saka's out. Odegaard is still out. So unlike Liverpool, when we had to start with Divock Origi and Firmino and Salah injured, and we've got to somehow win 4-0 against Barcelona to go on the Champions League final. Unlike that, in many other games where the Liverpool team stepped up in spite of injuries, Arsenal fans are completely already folding. What is their team famous for? Creating goals from open play? From magic, like what we see with Cole Palmer? From being attractive? From doing what Wenger made this team do? No! They are literally famous for corner kicks, far post to Gabriel, their center back. Their most exciting players are these giant center backs. How lame is that? So I don't know if you've seen the headline, but Arteta's already come out and basically said, yeah, basically we got a bunch of injuries, but don't worry, we're going to be flying against Liverpool on the weekend. So totally gaslit. None of us are fooled. What I expect is, I do think that they are a good team. And when you're a good team, you can miss some people, but it doesn't mean that you go from being a solid team to total trash. It just means you're going to miss some magic, maybe some clinical edge. So I still think they're going to be a tough team. I still think they're going to be a defensive team. I think they're going to run around and try to press us with their toothless attack for 16.3 minutes. And then they're going to revert to their normal formation, which is a 6-4-0 from like the 16th minute at Emirates. How pathetic. And they're going to start going, if it's 0-0, they're going to literally start going for the draw from the 16th minute. For shame. Do you know in the last century that Arsenal had a higher average finishing place than Liverpool? This is so disrespectful what's happening to Arsenal fans right now. It's disgusting. So I hope we wipe the floor with them. I hope that we traumatize them. I expect it's going to be a close game and that they're going to dig in. My prediction is 2-0 Liverpool.
Interesting. I had some thoughts before, but you triggered some as well. I sort of feel like they're both going to go into this game saying, "No, I'm the number one. I'm the big dog. We're going to run this show." Like both Arsenal and Liverpool are going to feel like it's their season to win. It's they're on top of their game, and they're going to try to control it and impose themselves. Now that breaks down a little bit with Arsenal because losing Saka and Saliba and not having Odegaard still, man, that's a pickle to put them in. I mean, honestly, there's a long history of Arsenal and Chelsea hating each other, but yeah, I feel a little bit like, oh, this is ruining a chance for a really good matchup because I'd rather see two top teams competing with their top guys. So it's the best defender and Saka. I mean, this is a big blow. So with that in mind, they could do exactly what you said. Kind of sit back. They're at home though, and also I think they just saw Chelsea and Liverpool, and they thought, hey, Chelsea dominated and bossed Liverpool at Anfield, completely dominated them. They owned them. They had them in their box half the time. They embarrassed Liverpool. And they're like, we can do the same. We're going to be at home. Who cares who's not playing? We have a great squad. And I think, aside from the entertainment value I punched in there, I think that's sort of how they're going to feel, sort of how they're going to approach it. Like, come on, we can take it to Liverpool. And at the end of the day, the problem I have, I just thought Liverpool's too smooth and slick when we played them, and you have too many attacking talents, and without Saliba there, you pick them apart with your solid defense. Like obviously Chelsea scored 33% of the goals against Liverpool this year, 33.33 to infinity percent of the goals. Chelsea can do that because we have the third best attacking trio in Europe right now, behind Barcelona and Bayern. Arsenal does not. Arsenal has Havertz, a Chelsea reject. Sterling couldn't get out of the bomb squad at Chelsea, which I like Sterling a lot, so I don't want to pick on him. But he's past his prime, and he's not worked into Arteta's system like Pep's system. I don't know if he ever will. But Havertz, Sterling, Martinelli, who misses. I mean, people make fun of Jackson and Nunez. Martinelli's been doing this for years. They don't have the attack, so between not having Saliba, Liverpool's cutting attack, smooth attack, I think Liverpool's going to take it to them. I could see it. I could see a 2-0. I could see a case where it goes bananas and Liverpool blows them out like you guys did to us last year. Hit us 4-1 plus hit the post 3 times or something. I could see that happening at Arsenal because they don't have Saliba, but maybe I'm not giving props to who can come in as well as I should. I'll stick with a 2-0.
Yeah, that's good. The core thing that you need to realize, and everybody needs to realize, and it's hard to understand, is that if they had their best people, this punk manager would park the bus at the home. He's afraid of Liverpool. Google it. He played You'll Never Walk Alone at their practice to try to help them mentally prepare. He's obsessed with us. He's a little man. He can't do it. So you got to think, if when they have their best players, they're like, yeah, no, we're going to lock it up. And like all the Kool-Aid that all their fans have to drink and pretend that isn't totally embarrassing. And I watch them drink it. And go, look, it's just tactical. If that's what they're like with their best players, what are they going to be like without their best players? That's number one. Number two, I don't think we're going to beat them more than 2-0 because I think a 2-0 loss at Emirates it's like as bad as it can get underneath this ultra defensive coach that is Arteta. I think that's what they do better. I would say better than anybody, but we have less XG conceded than them this year. So we're beating them at their thing.
Yeah.
The difference between Chelsea being able to hurt Liverpool and Arsenal being able to hurt Liverpool, it comes down to one person, the manager. Maresca is a risker. He is a brave, high risk coach, one of the few. And that's why, props, respect, all these attacking players, wingers that can actually take people on. Jackson, who's coming into form. Palmer, who's floating up. I mean, Palmer has more goals and assists than anybody except for Holland over the last however many games. I mean, that comes from risk. And obviously, as a Kloppite and a Kloppite, I respect that. Arteta doesn't do that. Arteta doesn't have a risky bone in his body. So, pathetic, boring match, treat it like any other. Liverpool is going to try to be professional and move on with this. And again, their attack is toothless. Van Dijk, I think people learned, our defense is great. They're fooling themselves. Konate is a French international. Van Dijk is the captain of his team, in my opinion, the greatest center back in the world right now. He has everything. And Gravenberch he's an emerging star. That's a huge triangle for a defense right there. And we're not going to have to go and risk ourselves really hard. We're going to play and try to get these guys to come out. Nick, please let us remember this. The perfect thing for us would be to score a set piece goal because they're going to shut down space for open play. If Konate, because they're going to be missing some of their physical presence, if Konate or Van Dijk, that'll be the perfect thing. No team would deserve to have a set piece goal scored on them more than freaking Arsenal. That would be perfect. And the worst thing that could happen to us is if we concede a stupid set piece goal against them, because that's when they're going to be a threat. Their in-swinger to Gabriel is going to be their threat, but I just have to hope that the giant trees of Liverpool can deal with it.
Yeah, regarding Maresca, I agree. He's got that extreme deep confidence. I would say it's even borderline arrogance, or it's arrogance. But he's got that arrogance or confidence that you need to say, hey, we're going to get number one. We're going to take number one. Like, we're not going to compete. We're going to get it. He doesn't say that. He says, he says all the right things. But I think in his head, he's like, we're going to win the title. We're going to win the league. Not this year, but next year or the year after. Like, he's got that confidence. He's bold, as you said. I mean, yeah, really. I mean, he went to Anfield and he's like, "We're going to take it to him," even with a weak, leaky, vulnerable defense. But maybe that was part of it. But then, I think Slot in the dressing room, he's going to say, say to the guys, like, "Look, guys, Chelsea's twice as good as Arsenal, at least 50% as good as Arsenal. If you can do that to Chelsea, we can beat Arsenal 3-0, 4-0 today. Go out there and do it," with his little bald, shiny head. And I think more seriously though, I think that's all trash talk. But seriously, I think there will be a confidence from that last game because it was a challenge, because it was a tough game, and you came out on top. There's gonna be a confidence that you bring into the stadium, and knowing Saliba's not there. And didn't Arsenal get scored on a set piece on Saturday as well? Someone scored a set piece on them, wasn't it? But yeah, I think that was hilarious. You had me cracking up because I think that is. I'm just very curious to see how they do, but without Saliba there. But I was impressed when I saw Liverpool has a better defense than Arsenal because all the jabber is about Arsenal's defense, and it's a strong defense. But Liverpool, I don't see how they break you down. I mean, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. We couldn't do it, and I do think we have a better attack. So we'll see. And what's your final? What did I say? 2-0. What's your final commentary? And we both said 2-0, right?
Yeah, I think 2-0. And I think that you can break us down. You're just going to have to risk. And if you risk and you open up, then you're going to feel the pain. Man. And again, I do think we'll be confident coming out of the Chelsea game, but also, again, not the strongest starting 11 for us. So if we come at Arsenal with Diaz starting, McAllister starting, it's going to be, I don't know though, maybe Curtis Jones has earned a spot. So It's still going to be a good game. It's still a top team and a top rival, but now's a good time. It's a perfect time to go to them. Except for Arteta's negative tactics, it's going to be depressing, and hopefully the refs don't ruin the game. So I'm predicting a 2-0 for Liverpool, and it's mainly because of if Arsenal had their full starting lineup to like give respect, I'd be predicting 2-1.
Yeah, same for me, I think. All right, peace. Good luck. Remember to check in and watch our Conference League match tomorrow against some Greek team. I think they're sixth in the league right now. But yeah, all right, peace.
Tough guys, enjoy conference.